A fellow hunter recently fell from his tree stand when the cable snapped and his safety harness failed at the exact same time. That's every hunter's nightmare. Today we're going to go over what you need to check before climbing into any stand this season, because one missed detail could change everything for the rest of the season. This topic came up after a member of the PBA community fell from his tree stand. We don't know all the details, but kind of reading between the lines, it almost sounds like it was a stand that's maybe on private property and or it was left up all year long. So we're not going to point fingers. We're going to point out some details for every hunter to think about prior to climbing up in the stand. Starting out, step number one is going to be inspect the stand. Ask yourself, how long has this stand been in the tree, especially if you've left it up in the tree, because sometimes years can slip past us and it's been up in a tree for 5, 6, 7 years and you're only thinking it's been there a couple of years. You need to check the bolts and the welds for any kind of rust or fatigue, cables for any kind of fraying, rust, and or broken strands of cable. A lot of times you'll see this sticking out. Ratchet straps, check them for dry rot and or sun bleaching. UV light's really hard on a lot of different materials, and I suspect a lot of our tree stand straps, the UV light will get it as well. Tree growth, especially, I know we had some older stands years ago, the big metal ladder stands, and we would use chain and a turnbuckle to attach them to the tree. But you also have to watch for the tree growth, because as that tree grows over 2, 3, 4 years, it can actually break those chains along with rust or any other kind of problems. This is not the time to be lax in checking out all of our equipment. If you have to, pull the tree stand down and double check it all. Make sure that it is safe for this season. Next up, we need to check the tree stand harness. And while we're talking about your harness and your tree stand, this is a good idea. Some of the public that we hunt out here in East Texas, you actually have to write your name and identification, like a phone number or whatever, on everything that's going to be in a tree. Climbing sticks, tree stand, any of that stuff, you're supposed to label it just in case you walk off for lunch and somebody is to find it. This is a good time to also put on there what year you bought your climbing sticks as well as your tree stand, and it'll help us gauge better on the lifespan of our particular equipment, because we often forget. Again, time can just fly by. So that's going to be the same thing. Go ahead and write on your harness. What year did you get your harness? You can use a Sharpie to mark all this stuff. It's pretty easy. Put your name on it along with the date, and then in a spot that you're going to be able to see it and maybe check it pretty regular. I never could get a definitive answer from any of the manufacturers on your tether if you're a saddle hunter, but what I ended up doing was, after about 3 years, I went ahead and changed everything out on mine. As far as I went ahead and replaced the saddle, the tether, and the lineman's rope, replaced it all after about 3 years. Your mileage may vary, but these are things that we need to be thinking about now before we get up in the tree stand. And if you're using any kind of tree stand and you're not using a tether and a lineman's belt, this is a good time to start. Double up on your safety. And then also, while you're going over your tether, your ropes, verify that your carabiners are all in working order. Make sure that, especially if you've been hunting a lot in the rain and it's gotten wet, make sure, same deal, make sure you don't have any rust or any kind of things that look like a failure point. These carabiners, and let's just say that ropeman too, it's like $60. I'd rather replace that for $60. Odds are it's going to be a lot cheaper than an emergency room visit. Just because it's been hanging in the garage does not mean that it's all good. Gear ages whether we're using it or not. So keep that in mind when you're going over this and trying to come up with a safe plan of action for you this fall. And then lastly, it amazes me how many people actually will shoot their bow year round, and I mean religiously go out there and shoot it, but they do not practice climbing in and out of their tree stand or practice different tree stand setups. This is a great time, especially if you've got your November vacation planned right now and you know you're going to be out in the woods for 2 weeks. Even if you have to take your tree stand to your local church because you don't have trees in your yard, get out somewhere, practice it, go over everything, and make sure that it's all in working order. Practice climbing, practice clipping in, practice drawing your bow from a real height. Cold weather affects the straps, cables, expansion and contraction, stresses materials. So keep this in mind, guys. It's something that we're going to have to stay on top of. Start dating and putting a date on your tree stands when you buy them. If you're new to this, go out there. If you can remember when you bought your tree stand, put a date on it. These things are not lifetime components because of everything that happens. Most people do not store their tree stands in a controlled temperature environment. We store them in the sheds, the barns, and everything else to where they're getting all the extreme heat, they're getting all the extreme colds. That stresses metals. And then lastly, if you're new to hunting out of a tree stand, I'm going to almost recommend that you start with a saddle. I believe with all my heart that saddles are a lot safer because you're constantly tethered into the tree. If you fall, you're looking at maybe 4 to 5, 6 inches into the tree versus out of your stand. It's easier setup, especially in smaller trees. Some will argue and say that there's less noise involved. I'll argue that. That's, again, going to come back to how much do you practice using it and knowing your equipment and knowing how to keep it quiet. There are limitations with a saddle. You're going to see guys that are going to be able to spin all the way around on top of their tiny little platform. You can go watch kayak fishing videos and you're going to see guys standing up in kayaks. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to do it. Again, you need to go out and practice it. I've never been able to spin around on my little tiny platform. Know how to get your tree stand or saddle set up so that it's going to be the most beneficial for you, along with being the most safe. If you grew up like I did, straddling trees to the hang a stand, we were lucky to make it through those days. Saddles have changed that game as far as safety, and they've taught us all a lot. I don't think anybody knew what a lineman rope was when I was a kid other than your power guys. They knew what they were, but we never knew what they were as far as hunters. Man, it just really does change the game as far as keeping safe out there in the woods. And then we're going to go ahead and close this out. This is just kind of a recap. Final thoughts. Before you climb this season, take 10 minutes to check your gear, your cables, your harness, because deer season is supposed to end with a story, not a hospital trip. And then real quickly, I imagine everybody has a friend or knows somebody personally that has fallen out of a tree stand. One of my buddies I used to work with, he fell out of his stand, broke both of his ankles. Got another friend that I met when I moved here to Texas. He fell out of his tree stand, broke both of his ankles. I'm going to real quickly tell you about a story that happened to my father one year when me and him was out hunting. So we got permission to hunt a piece of private property, and we'd gone out and scouted it a couple of days prior, and we decided the best plan of attack on this particular property where we were finding the trails. We found some fresh scrapes, we found some fresh rubs, was to get out our climbing tree stands. We get up early that morning. I go over to my dad's house and we leave. It's dark. We've got our climbing tree stands, our backpacks. We got everything we need for the entire day hunt. And I get Dad over there to where he's going to go up in his tree. I go ahead and I'm about another 100 yards, maybe 150 yards away from him on another trail, intersecting trail off the one that he's on. And I get all the way up into my tree and I can hear my dad. He's notorious for cutting limbs so that he has a good little alley to shoot out of. I can hear something that sounds like some branches breaking, and I'm like, my goodness, he's actually cutting down some bigger limbs. And then it's total dark. I mean, you can't even see your hand in front of your face. And then I hear what sounds like a tree falling. And there's crashing, there's banging, there's all kinds of stuff happening. And then I hear through the silence, all you can hear is the crickets and everything. And I hear through the silence, I'm okay. He was climbing up with his climbing tree stand, and the bottom fell loose. About 10 foot up in the air, he lost the bottom. he held on as long as he could. He held on. he, he held on as long as he could, and when he came crashing down, he hit the bottom of his tree stand about 4 foot up off the ground, and I mean bent it like a pretzel, and then he fell into the brush and trees behind him. Luckily, he didn't get injured at all. It was just, I don't know, he got extremely lucky. But this is a good time, and just kind of a gentle reminder, if you're especially you're in a climbing tree stand and you don't have the top tied to the bottom, this could happen to you. Though every climbing tree stand I've ever been in, they've always got a little different way to attach it to your feet. And yeah, it can slip off of wet boots, and then you're up in the tree way up there, and your bottom of your stand's at the bottom of the tree. So they make some actual straps that tie it on both sides that are adjustable, and then when you get up in your tree, it'll kind of torque it down and tie it together, basically making it feel like a complete system. If you can't afford the $10 for those straps, use paracord, use some rope, but make sure that you got the bottom of your tree stand tied to the top in some fashion. Again, we appreciate each and every one of you. If you want to share a story with us down below, comment down below. And until next week's video comes out, be sure to check out one of our playlists of videos that we made especially for you. I hope you all have a blessed week, and let's get outside and make something happen. And yes, I'm trying to hurry this video up. I'm taking you hunting with me this morning, so let's get after it.